All right, very happy Marc Dos Santos there for this one. All right, Ale, let's get into it. Now, it's only the first game of this season, but I still have so many questions going on. How much of a statement win was this for LAFC? How much can we read into it? Do we just say, okay, Inter Miami just dusting off some, early season cobwebs probably, but to see a Lionel Messi go into a game with no shots on target is something we're not used to, despite his age.
No, and I think it's much more about LAFC than it is about Inter Miami. And as I told you and I told Lissy a couple of weeks ago, there'll be a lot of games like this. There'll be a lot of games like this for Inter Miami where you get an underperforming Lionel Messi leading up to the World Cup, up until he finds the rhythm that he wants to find, building momentum going into the World Cup.
Do you feel he was managing himself?
Well,
100%?
There weren't a lot of sprints by Lionel Messi. I'll just say that. And that's not new necessarily. It's just that usually when he finds himself in those positions that Marc Dos Santos, the manager of LAFC, was talking about, we see a change of pace from Lionel Messi. We didn't see that all that often in the match against LAFC. And if we're going to really analyze and evaluate the game from Lionel Messi, there were moments in which when he got in this sort of positions and he finally gets a touch, there's an opportunity to lay this ball off to Telasco Segovia when he eventually takes a shot on target. And unable to connect with the shot, and I'm not going to criticize Lionel Messi for taking a shot, but there was an open pass to Telasco Segovia that he didn't pick out. There was a lot of this from Lionel Messi, getting himself in what were good positions, but unable to find that first touch. Usually you don't see Lionel Messi getting that touch away from him. You usually see him shielding the ball with his body and creating separation. You don't see the easy turnovers from Lionel Messi. And so, yeah, it's early season. You're just coming off of preseason. He missed the last couple of weeks of preseason because of an injury. And so the fact that there is what we consider to be a down game by Inter Miami, and in particular by Lionel Messi, should not be a surprise. The fact that LAFC were excited to play against Inter Miami should not be a surprise. Because, after all, there are 70,000 people in the stadium. And so I think the whole environment was set up for LAFC to play at a high level, and for Inter Miami, who are trying to kind of find their way into the season, for them to come up short. I'm not surprised that this was a less than ideal performance from Inter Miami, and an underwhelming performance at that.
And of course, because of Inter Miami and what they achieved last season, and Messi just being Messi, we're going to talk a lot more about what Messi did wrong or what Inter Miami did wrong. But definitely, as you said, this feels like it was set up for LAFC to put on a big performance. That is easier said than done, especially when you give in the opposition. But do you feel like this is a statement win? How is it an early sign maybe of what more we can expect from LAFC this season in terms of being contenders?
Right, okay. We're not even in March.
Ale, it's a big statement. Start as you mean to go on.
There are no big statements in February. We're not even in March yet.
Are we taking down the defending champs?
No, it's
silencing.
Yeah,
Messi?
Silencing who? Silencing who? And honestly, who cares? When you think about it, yes, if you're LAFC and Marc Dos Santos, you're gonna play this up and say, yes, we took out Inter Miami. If you're Lionel Messi and Inter Miami, and specifically Lionel Messi, he's looking at this and going, okay, don't love this, don't like it. Don't like to get humiliated, but there will be more important games this season than this one was. And you turn the page and you move on to next week. Truth is, if you think about Inter Miami against LAFC, specifically in this game, it wasn't just Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
The first goal comes from a really poor turnover from Rodrigo de Paul. And so while the reporters, just like us, are always going to ask about Lionel Messi, and Marc Dos Santos has to answer a question about Lionel Messi, one of the things that LAFC did really well was deny the service to Lionel Messi in advantageous positions. And in order to do that, they did really well at pressing Rodrigo de Paul and pressing whenever Inter Miami got in a position where they're trying to look up and find Lionel Messi. Now, Messi wasn't moving all that well, and then the good pressure that LAFC was putting on guys like Rodrigo de Paul then was making it more difficult for Inter Miami to get themselves in a situation in which Messi could be dangerous. So there are a lot of things and a lot of layers to this performance from LAFC, that you can hang on to and be encouraged if you're at LAFC.
That's what I was getting at.
No. Your question was, is this a statement win? Well, I suppose. No, you can
encourage their fans maybe to believe that they could be contenders for the season, because I'd be feeling mighty high after a win like this. Just saying. Lean into joy.
It's February. It's February. It's also February.
So calma. You're going to hit me with the Cristiano Ronaldo calma.
Not when I'm talking about Messi. No. But, por favor, please.
O sea.
Everybody has to relax and to think about, is this a statement win? It's significant. It's significant for LAFC, and it's something that I think will propel them forward and will fill them with confidence. It won't fill Dane Sinclair with any sort of confidence.
I was just going to say, can you turn into our Shaka Hislop and just, because I mean, it's a rough one to take, especially for your first game. I mean, you come from being 2025 Goalkeeper of the Year, you're making your debut for the champions, and oh my absolute days. What did you say this was? Shaka-strophic with cheese.
Deluxe Royale with cheese. And Dane Sinclair does the worst thing that you can do as a goalkeeper, which is he made no decision whatsoever. If you're going to come out, then come out. If you're going to stay, then stay. But what he did was stand in the middle of nowhere. Stand in the middle of nowhere, which then made the decision easier for Denis Bouanga. As he's running, he's not concerned about a goalkeeper coming out because he was just standing still. He's also not concerned about defender catching up with the angle because, in this case, Sinclair did not stay far back. And so, in that sense, as a striker, you're looking for decisions to be made for you. And Dane Sinclair did that for Bouanga. He did him a favor. When Bouanga sees this ball bounce and he looks up, corner of his eye, and he's running full speed, defender's coming this way, and he sees the goalkeeper just standing there, and he's not coming your way, and he's not far back, now you have all sorts of possibilities. You can just loop it over the top of him or do what he did. He had all the momentum, play a header above Dane Sinclair. Sinclair was out of the play, and by then the defender was never going to catch up with you. Dane Sinclair did the worst thing that you could do, which is nothing. He didn't come out. He didn't stand. He didn't stay in his goal or somewhere inside his 18-yard box. He went into a land of death. There's nothing to achieve there. Darkness is what exists in that place, and Denis Bouanga was able to take advantage of it.
He thrived in that darkness. Let's hope Jesse Marsh wasn't watching that one a little too close. All right, well.
It was catastrophic.
It was catastrophic. Let's hear from Javier Mascherano in terms of what he thought of this game. Now, he said this: the reality is that they beat us fair and square. That's the truth. I think it's often difficult to explain when you lose 3-0, 3 goals in a match. But my initial analysis gives me the feeling that the result was somewhat misleading. The game as it unfolded, there wasn't that much of a difference. Okay. Is he just trying to do some damage control?
Didn't the first part of that quote said
they won fair and square?
Yeah, they beat us fair and square.
But maybe he's trying to say it didn't look like that much of a beatdown.
Right. Well, let me just say to Javier Mascherano, I wholeheartedly disagree. No estamos de acuerdo. Absolutely 100% got beat and should have gotten beat. LAFC were far better than Inter Miami. And if I want to take it a step further, if Mascherano really wants to talk facts, because we can talk facts.
Yeah, of course.
I'm all about facts. First half should have been 3-0 already. You think about Son and how he went on a 1v1 situation with the goalkeeper. He just couldn't quite sort out his feet, ends up sort of having to cut the ball back, and Bouanga, his shot gets clear off the line. That should have been a goal. David Martinez, vamos Venezuela, he scored a goal and also had yet another opportunity where he was 1v1 against Dane Sinclair and hit it wide. I'm talking these are 100% opportunities. These are not half chances. This is not maybe, could be, perhaps. No, these were 100% chances. And what I would suggest to Javier Mascherano, instead of trying to dress this up, which you shouldn't, we don't have to sugarcoat this thing. It's not his job to do it, but I suppose he wants to do it early on in the season to kind of deflect attention away from what was a poor performance. I would be concerned about I can't believe I'm saying this about Inter Miami, Javier Mascherano, former Barcelona player, along the lines of what's going on currently with Barcelona. The high line of Inter Miami, my Lord have mercy. And they're turning the ball over in bad areas. And of course, no pressure on the ball means that you can play the ball in behind. And Son was running free, and then David Martinez was running free, and Boanga was running free. So please spare me. If anybody that knows the game, watched this game, knows that LAFC were significantly better than Inter Miami in this particular match. It doesn't mean, because we're still in February, did I tell you that?
Yeah,
February.
I was going to get excited again.
Yeah, we're still in February, but maybe as the season goes along, we'll see a better version of Inter Miami. But as it pertains to this past weekend, LAFC much better.
Well, as you say, it's interesting that obviously as the season goes on, we will probably see a better version of Inter Miami. Is there anything to be said about potentially missing the likes of Busquets and Jordi Alba, who were, I mean, such a crucial parts of the team last season?
Yeah, but that
happens everywhere.
Right. I'm not concerned about if I'm Javier Mascherano. If I were Javier Mascherano, I would not be concerned about who's not here. I'm far more concerned about who's here. I cannot, as a manager, be concerned about, well, if Sergio were here, he would just be able to turn this ball and find that pass. If Jordi Alba were here, then we would have a natural outlet on the left-hand side. Well, that's not the case. That's gone. So I suppose we can talk about it if we want to make some sort of point of discussion about Inter Miami. But I remind you, it is the first game of the season, and it's February. Calm down.
But still big shoes to fill. If we're to have a discussion, because that's what we're here for. That's why we braved the snowstorm, Ale.
Well, we braved the storm because we apparently are essential workers.
Essential.
Sergio Busquets, as important as he was for Inter Miami, I don't think they're going to miss his lack of legs in the midfield.
But still the experience.
What they're going to need. All right. I am giving you the analysis. You can go ahead and then just analyze it yourself then.
No.
Okay. You call it experience, I'm calling all legs. And he knew they were all legs because he was not in a position where he could run people down. What they're going to need is for Rodrigo de Paul to stop turning the ball over. He's not the same kind of player as Sergio Busquets. They're going to need de Paul to stop turning the ball over and actually take more of a leadership role in that midfield.